seven-figure grins from across the room. I see your patience are short with all these dancing fools. I see that you're the type of girl that likes a tattoo. I seen the way you looked at me when I came walking through. So don't hesitate, bro. A single night, let them know. And don't let the night go. Now don't let it go. Don't wanna be the streets. I wanna make you scream. Come get it like a freak. Take my hand. We gotta do a freak. Oh, that's just like a dream. Only get it like a freak. Take my hand.
All right, it is that time again. This is the Twisted Hour here on WBUZ95.com. You can also find us on the Orange Radio app. Well, not right now, but our radio station building in New Orleans is currently inaccessible due to the COVID virus, but we are recording remotely. And tonight I should say, we are being joined by Sophie Aurelia Young. I think I said that right. And her other half, Dave Winkler. Sophie is a Twisted Angel model. She's been with us for about a year. And Dave is her significant other. He's a musician, a rock star over there in the UK. So we're excited to have them on the show this week. Kelsey is not able to join us this evening. She's got some family stuff she's got to take care of, helping out her mom with this virus and stuff and whatnot. It falls us to make sure we take care of, our parents and loved ones. So she's helping take care of her mother this evening. And Bree might join us briefly later on. She and I are, again, doubling up and taking care of the kids. So we'll see where we're at with that. And she'll try and join us for a little bit later on in the show. But in the meantime, like I said, we are going to be joined by Sophie and Dave here shortly. So stay tuned and we'll be right back here on the Twisted Hour.
This is Diamond Dahlia, winner of Hell City Hotties.
And Hall Cantrell from Iconic Tattoo here in Arizona.
Tune into Twisted Hour here on
WBUZ 95, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check out the Twisted Angels.
All right, as promised, we are back with Sophie Aurelia. I said that right? Did I say that right? I'm gonna, it just sounds weird coming from me. It sounds really cool with your accent, but with my accent, it sounds like poop. But it sounds really cool with your. So we're gonna get you to say your name, so everybody can hear you say your name because it's really cool.
Okay, Sophie Aurelia Young.
Yeah, see, so that's really cool. So my way of saying it that sounds American. So it sounds like poop. And her other half, better half. They're both better halves, but her other half, Dave Winkler of Star Circus, which we were talking a little bit before we came on the air that it started off as a solo project, but you've kind of gathered in some fellow artists and musicians and stuff that have kind of hopped on board. So and you have a new release, a new song that we're going to introduce at the end of the show. So, but we're not going to say the name just yet. We're going to let everybody have to wait to the end. If we give it away now, then they'll not wait for it. So anyway, so we're gonna start off with obviously Sophie's been with the Twisted Angels for I guess a little over a year now.
Yeah.
You've been with us for a little over a year. You've been doing a lot of stuff. You've been published. You have your own clothing line, and we'll get into that later. And how did you and Dave meet? How did you guys end up meeting up and getting involved? And like you've been in a music video of theirs and everything.
Yeah. So I guess I live just outside of London, and Dave's always lived in central London, in the Camden area, which is sort of like the rock hub of London.
Yeah.
And we actually met in a rock club, like one of London's, well, it's probably one of the UK's biggest rock nights. It's Voodoo Rock.
Yep.
Runs till about 5 a.m. So.
Yeah, it's like an all-night sort of party, like the six. And I think we met in the early hours of the morning, just got on really well, and yeah, just carried on talking afterwards, and just started dating. So, yeah.
And he hasn't been able to get rid of you since.
The morning that we met, I guess, I had a bunch of people back to my apartment after the club, so I went on till about midday the following day, and I actually asked her to be in the Save Your Life video, which is
wow.
a video featuring him. Before we were together, I was like, you've got the face for this video. So that kind of happened before everything else. So yeah, it worked out. And yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nobody ever asked me to be in a video. Nobody ever asked me to be in a video because I got a face made for radio, so they just they're better off that way. my days of my days. Well, you know, when I was in a band in the late '80s, early '90s, we talked about that a little bit. I mean, I had hair and the whole deal. We talked about that too, and but the whole thing for us was, and that's what I was going to ask you about with you guys, with your music there. What it used to be for us, it's changed a lot, but it used to be like we live on the East Coast. So the whole thing was to kind of get noticed here on the East Coast. You would play in certain places, you know, certain hubs, like you were talking about there in London. You would go to CBGB's in New York. That was the biggest, you know, rock club there. It was much like what you were talking about. It was like 24/7 there. So you would get kind of noticed on the East Coast, and then your goal was then to get noticed by a record company, that they would fly you out to California. Basically, they'd probably put you up for maybe, I don't know, maybe a few weeks or whatever. They would kind of pay for you to be out there, but then you're kind of on your own because they wanted you to kind of get your, you know, feet on the ground and get running and get booked on and doing some shows and some clubs out there, especially along the Sunset Strip and whatnot. So I got to play in Whiskey A Go Go, which was really cool. That's where Motley Crue and a lot of those guys got started. Yeah, we got to play. We got to play there twice. That was really cool. We opened up for a band called Heaven's Edge, and
I've heard of them.
yeah, and I'm trying to remember. Babylon AD was the other one we got a chance to open up for.
Yeah, so, I saw them in Nottingham.
Yeah, so we got a chance to open up for those two bands at that point. But anyway, once you got a bit of a following, and you got together a little bit of money doing that, then you went and you did an EP, you know, like 3 or 4 songs on it. At that point, it was we were doing still, you know, on that cassette tape / you know, just starting to get into CDs. And then they would send it over to Japan, and they would try and generate some interest in you in Japan, and then from there, they would, if you generate enough interest, you'd go over there for a short tour, and it was usually anywhere from like 3 to 8 weeks you could be there traveling around and touring. And we ended up doing we did 5 out of 6 weeks that we were there, because in the middle of the 5th week we were told they were closing down our tour because all of a sudden Nirvana and grunge hit the airwaves, and it was just like nobody wanted to. So we finished out like 2 or 3 shows, and then the last week we were just like, okay, they're sending us back. But it was fun. We had a blast. We tried to stick it out there for a little bit, but then everybody kind of went their own separate ways. I mean, our one guitarist, he still plays guitar. He went off for a while. He was playing on the cruise ships. He was doing like the cruise ship thing. So he did the cruise ship thing there for a while, and now he's living in Florida. He's does some projects down there, and I just decided to kind of go back to my photography and my artwork, and kind of stuck with that. We're actually at some point in time we're trying to get Nikki Kicks on the show. So Nikki, if you're listening, you got to give me a call here, because Nikki he's a phenomenal photographer. He's actually a spokesperson, I guess, for Leica cameras. I mean, he does a lot of life portraiture, walking on the streets and capturing people on the streets, like homeless people and stuff like that. Some of his like real life portraiture he does is really, really cool. So, it's kind of interesting that they do that. But from that perspective, with the quarantine and everything going on now and the virus, what are you guys doing to kind of what's been your artistic release, I guess, during this whole pandemic? What have you been doing?
So for me at the moment, I've actually got sort of a little project going on, which is illustrating a children's poetry book.
Oh, okay.
So it's not my normal sort of artwork, you know.
Right.
If people who know about Bloodlust clothing, they know all the T-shirts, sort of my own illustrations and stuff. That's more my normal style.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, as an artist, you've just got to be sort of open to anything, and I love experimenting with different styles. So that's been keeping me busy, and I've been doing a lot of my own illustrations as well, and also working with Dave on some of his music. I'm actually going to be on the next single playing keyboard and doing some backing vocals as well.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, and then Dave?
Yeah, for my birthday, I'm not yet going to say how old I am. I'm releasing. We're doing an acoustic version of one of the songs on the album that I wrote many years ago, probably 18 years ago now.
Oh, you are an old fart. Okay, I don't feel so bad now. No, I'm just kidding. I might not be the oldest guy in the room here. I may not. No, I am. I know I am.
I've got a special birthday coming up, and we're pretending it's 30. Yeah.
You're pretending it's 30.
We are.
Well, you've got the hair to make it look like you're 30. I couldn't even fake it. There's no way I could.
I'm the only one in my family who still has the hair. I've got older cousins, younger cousins, my brother.
Oh, what's your secret? You've got to tell us your secret. That's when you know you're adopted. You don't have the same genes as everybody else.
Yeah, no, late nights and rock and roll.
Oh,
there's a path on my mum's side of the family. One like my mother's family that'll keep their hair or something like that. And I'm the only person in the family that's followed that strain of the family. So yeah, it's all right. It's stuck around for a little bit.
That's fine.
Yeah, so my birthday's coming up. I thought it would be a nice thing to do a song that's like a positive message about taking advantage of life. Before the song is over, and get all my friends. I've got some friends in California, some friends in Spain, some friends in France, Czech Republic.
Oh wow!
Who are all guesting on the song, doing a bit of backing vocals and playing some instruments, and then it's just
cool.
an acoustic kind of big sort of cool version of the song. So Sophie plays some keyboards and does a few harmonies on that, and we're gonna do a little video with everyone in quarantine.
Yeah.
We're doing the whole feed the world kind of.
Oh, there you go. That's cool though. I mean, if you think about it, there probably really hasn't been any universal song like that in a long time. Really, there really hasn't been. So that's really a neat idea. That's really, really cool.
And, one of the guys on it is my friend Ben, who plays for Sisters of Mercy.
Oh, awesome.
So
awesome.
Another guy plays a guitar solo. He plays for Carcass.
Oh, okay.
So he's playing on a power ballad, but
nice.
he plays for Carcass.
Well, I got. You can't really see it, but I have a Def Leppard shirt on. But that's because they're one of my favorite bands. I got to photograph them quite a bit. So they were, because we live near Hershey, Pennsylvania. So Hershey tends to be one of the major stops that a lot of bands make because they got the big, Giant Center here and whatnot. Or even the big stadium too. But for a while there, for Hershey Entertainment, I was one of their photographers, and I got to photograph them a lot when they were coming through. And then I moved to Houston, and I was down in Houston. I just photographed them; they were just up here, and I moved to Houston. And a couple of months after I moved down there, they were playing down in Houston, and I managed to finagle my way to be a photographer, like on the off stage. And ran into them and said, "Hey," and like, "What are you doing here? We just saw you a couple months ago in Hershey." I said, "I'm stalking you," and they give me a double take. I'm like, "No, I'm kidding. It's not what I'm doing at all." But they were really cool. I really enjoy. One of the things I have enjoyed over the years is photographing bands, and they're definitely one of the bands I really enjoyed photographing. Pop Evil. Yeah, Pop Evil was great. And then Skid Row minus Sebastian Bach, I photographed them. photographed
was
Kiss.
that on Soldinger lineup?
What's that?
Was that with Johnny Solinger or with Zippy?
It's not with Zippy, so it's probably Johnny, because this was.
I got to support them years ago.
Yeah, that would have been 2014, I think, that I did that when I got a chance to photograph them. So, but and then there's a lot of like local bands and stuff like that, like Gunmetal Grey, Small Town Titans. They're pretty big right now. Gunmetal Grey's actually gone to the UK for a couple festivals that they've done over there. So, but it's that's one of the things I've really enjoyed, photographing. Probably one of the most interesting bands that I photographed was the Galactic Empire band. They're all dressed up in Star Wars, costumes and playing instruments and stuff. You got like Boba Fett's playing the drums and stuff like that. So it's really cool. So that was a really neat show. But who would you say your this is for Dave? Who would you say are your biggest influences musically?
Right. So I've just done a talk about that a little bit on another radio show. So the key moment for me was when I was pretty young and the Freddie Mercury tribute concert happened.
Mm-hmm.
The very early influence was watching that and watching all these bands kind of take on Queen songs. Mm-hmm. And Queen became a massive influence, just the musicianship and the variety in what they do.
Right.
The eclecticism I really admire. That a lot of bands don't have as much of nowadays. There was, you take bands like Zeppelin, Aerosmith, right up to Guns N' Roses, and there was a lot of eclecticism, trying different things, but also writing great songs and great hooks. So from that kind of Queen and Def Leppard again, as we've mentioned, those bands were the early influences. Extreme, Guns N' Roses, and then I got into heavier stuff, and I got into more sort of 70s rock type stuff, and then we mentioned Cheap Trick just before this started. I love a lot of sort of power pop stuff like Cheap Trick, Enough's Enough, The Wild Hearts, bands like that, with great choruses and harmonies and chord progressions, and just stuff that keeps it interesting. There's a lot of very sort of samey chord progressions in both pop and rock music nowadays, and I think variety is spice of life. Really, it comes from there. It comes from classic rock, and some 80s pop music even as well, like Duran Duran and Nick Kershaw and bands like that have stuff I grew up hearing on the radio when I was a kid, kind of in there somewhere, right up to things like the Beatles and the Who and things like that my parents would play. So
I grew up. My dad was a big Beatles fan. It was he used to always tell me that you were either, if you liked the Beatles, you were either the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, and if you liked one, you didn't like the other. So our house had the Beatles playing. So I grew up really influenced by the Beatles. 70s rock, some of the older like Aerosmith stuff was really cool. And Boston was really good too. It was funny because we were in the car the other day, and More Than a Feeling came on, and Bree's only 25, but she starts belting out the song, and so it's stuff like that. It's stuff like that that's really cool, that you can see that music is one of those things artistically, besides what we do photographically or whatever. But it's one of those things that spans generations, which is really, really cool. But and then during the 80s, I mean, my biggest influences probably were, again, Def Leppard, bands that had that power, that melodic type stuff. I was never really into like the screaming stuff so much, although I've always enjoyed AC/DC, and getting into like the new wave stuff. You mentioned Duran Duran. I wasn't a big Duran Duran fan, but I was, during that time frame, I was a really big a Flock of Seagulls fan, and I was a really big NXS fan. Those were probably my two favorite, of the 80s bands. So, and I've known Mike Score for, I don't know, 14 and 20, 34 years. I've known him for 34 years. So we chat every now and then. We have the same hairstyle now. So, but But it was really, yeah. And you mentioned Czechoslovakia the other day, yeah, a few minutes ago, and I thought it was great when they did a remake of some of their songs with the Prague Symphony. Was it the symphony orchestra there in
Right.
It was a couple years ago they did that, yeah, but it was like really awesome. They got all the original members of the band together and they did remakes of their songs with the symphony, and that was really cool. And I hadn't known. I mean, I saw a couple of interviews with Mike, and I had known him for like 20 plus years at the time, but saw a couple of interviews where he really, musically, from a music standpoint, he really studies music and has a really phenomenal knowledge of classical music up through, it's just contemporary stuff and modern stuff that's being done now. He just kind of pulls elements of all this stuff and puts it all together. It's pretty amazing to watch and listen to him talk about it. But yeah, those are probably our influences when we were playing too. And then we during the late 80s, early 90s, a lot of us were you took elements from what other people were playing too, were contemporary, that playing at the same time. I mean, you'd be out at the club, you see another band, hey, that's really cool. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try something like that. I'm going to do that and do it better. Kind of like what we do as photographers and even as models. You're like, you see a photo shoot and you're like, I like that idea, but I think I would do it this way or whatever. So it's kind of that same mentality.
That's what creative art is about. Kind of mixing and matching concepts.
Yeah, exactly. Now, how long, Sophie? How long have you been married now? Married. What did I say? Married. Modeling. Married. Yeah. How long have you been married? I was trying to think something else, but okay. How long have you been modeling? That was great. Yeah, that was a hint. That was a hint for you, Dave. You guys have been together long enough. No, I'm just kidding.
So my parents found out about on a radio show.
Whoops, sorry guys. No, I was kidding.
Okay.
Now, how long have you been modeling now?
Oh, okay. I think professionally it would have been a year last October. So what's that? A year and
about a year and a half now. About a year and a half. So that's
something like that. Yeah.
Now, what would you describe as far as your modeling is concerned? What would you say your style is?
I mean, when it comes to modeling, I'm very open to working with whatever the photographer's brief is. Mm-hmm. But I tend to do quite a lot of sort of either sort of the dark fairy tale. I get asked for a lot of sort of graveyard shoots, as you could imagine, having black hair and
yeah.
Everyone's just like, oh yeah, I've got to shoot with Sophie. I'll just put her in a graveyard. That's fine. But no, I've got more into sort of a boudoir style as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I don't know. There's quite a lot of different things, and I guess what I've been doing in music videos is sort of constitutes as modelling, but sort of with a bit of acting as well. Yeah. But I'm pretty much up to trying anything out, but I also like my own personality to come out through my work as well.
Yeah.
So if you played on contemporary dance as well, so some of that came out in the video as well.
Yeah, well, that's cool too. I mean, it was funny because we just posted a video of Regina. She's a fire performer, and she did a video with a group called the Black Bullets. She did a video for them, and she was the fire performer in that. So that was really cool. She sent it to us the other day, so that was really, really cool. So we that's featured right now. But do you find, if you have everybody asking you to photograph the same thing over and over again, does that get a little frustrating for you sometimes? Because you're going, man, another graveyard, and you go into the graveyard, I've been here before. You start saying hi to people in the gravestones. Hi, Mr. Smith. Hi, Mr. Jones over there, nice to see you. I saw you a couple weeks ago and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself that you're like, do you get to the point where you say, look, can we do something other than a cemetery? Because, I've been at that cemetery 4 times.
Yeah. I mean, I can usually sort of predict what direction the photographers who contact me are going to get it in. Mm-hmm. I think a lot who haven't worked with me before, that is their first go-to. And I'm fine doing it. I like to mix it up because there's a lot of different styles of architecture and stuff that you can see in cemeteries. So they can look very different from each other. But as soon as I've done one shoot with someone else, I'll really try and push my own creativity as well as theirs and try and come up with something very different. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good too. I mean, it has this advantage as you go back and I've been here before, so let me find something to do. So you have to kind of get that, like you said, you have to kind of push yourself to do something a little bit different than you did the last time you were there and whatnot. So that's cool. Now, do you have, what are some of your goals as far as your modeling and stuff like that, and we'll get into your clothing line in our second segment, but what are your goals modeling wise? Where are you looking to go with it? Do you have a specific goal? Is it just kind of a part-time thing that you like to do on the side, or is it something you really want to make it a career?
I think because at the moment it's very much part-time because I have so many other projects, like you said, with my clothing line and getting involved in other things, my artwork as well. But for me, I think getting involved in sort of the music video and performance aspects of it, since doing more of the sort of fire performance and more acting within like a video context, for me that's sort of more the direction I think I want to take it in, because I think I feel more proud of the end result when it's something like that rather than just sort of a still image of me.
Gotcha.
Like I'd rather there was like a really strong concept behind whatever I'm doing and there's a message behind it as well.
Gotcha. All right. Well, tell you what, we're gonna take a break here because I got to pay some bills. I got to show some ads and play some ads and whatnot. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna be back. I'm gonna check with Bree because we're on quarantine. We get to see if we could kind of do the tag team thing. Taking care of the kids while the others on the radio. So I'm gonna do that, and if the kids are sleeping, we'll both be on the show with you. Because she was trying to put them down for a nap, because it's nap time here. I know it's in the evening there. So we're going to be right back, everybody. We will be right back with Sophie Aurelia. Did I get that right again? Did I got that right? Okay. I mean, it sounds crappy coming from me, and Dave Winkler of Star Circus, and we're going to talk to them a little bit more after this.
Thanks. Hi, this is Sophie Aurelia of the Twisted Angels.
And this is Dave. Well, Star Circus.
And you're listening to The Twisted Hour on WBUZ95.com. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Rock on.
All right, and we are back with Sophie Aurelia. It's getting better, slightly better. And Dave of Star Circus. Bree was going to join us, but as I said earlier, with quarantine and stuff, we try and do the tag team with the kids. And right now, she's in the middle of feeding our youngest, and she's eating tacos herself. So, and because it's like a late lunch for us here. And you guys are roughly about 6 hours ahead of us, because it's about 2:30ish here, a little after 2:30 here. So what time is it there?
We're 5 hours ahead then, because it's 7.
Oh, okay.
Just turned 7:40.
Oh, that's not too bad. So, because we have like,
still got that, right?
yeah, we have like 4 time zones in the United States, and it's hard keeping track of all of them half the time. So,
I'm sure, yeah.
so it gets a little frustrating because you're like, how many hours behind are you? And there's talk of them changing some of that around. I don't know how they're going to do that, but good luck. So I'll just go with the flow. As long as my clock changes by itself and I don't have to worry about it, I don't really care. So we're gonna get back to Dave here. We were talking with him earlier with some of his influences and stuff like that. When you're putting together your songs, is it something Is it something where you have a hook that kind of plays in your head and you're like, okay, and you kind of flesh it out a little bit and then you add the lyrics to the music at that point? Or is it something where you have some cool lyrics and then you kind of put music to it? How does that work for you?
Overall, kind of, yeah, the first one you said is exactly it, and was particularly the case with the new single. Often it's a chorus that comes first. Particularly some of the strongest songs, it will be a chorus, hook or melody that will kind of tie things in and kind of and my method of doing things, I kind of advocate doing the opposite of what a lot of people say, particularly years ago. I'd say if you have something that you think is a great chorus, don't record it. and don't put it down on anything. And then if it's still stuck in your head 2 or 3 weeks later, then you know it's going to get stuck in other people's heads. Particularly if you want to write something memorable or commercial.
Yeah, that's cool.
From that perspective, something that's going to get stuck in people's heads. That will often come first, and then there'll often be like a guitar riff or something that I've been messing around with, and I'll kind of go, okay, does this work with that? Can I put this in the same key as that? And then verse lyrics will often be last and be quite painstaking, like particularly second verses. I have pet hate for second verses. I'm like, how do I do what I did in the first verse but say something slightly different?
Yeah.
If it's a strong message in the song or something, then sometimes it will come quickly, and I'll go, oh, that's a good idea, or it'll come to me a week later or something. But yeah, usually melody and chorus first. And then the rest will kind of flesh itself out, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. I used to run a lot of same problem too. When you, like you said, that you get that first verse, it's like that first verse comes out pretty quickly and easily, because it kind of when you're doing the chorus, you got the chorus stuck in your head, and your I guess way of doing things or philosophy of it is actually, that's really a cool idea. I mean, if, like you said, if it's still kicking around in your head in a couple weeks, then yeah, it'll kick around in other people's heads. That's actually really, really neat way to look at it, and I think it's a great idea. But yeah, the first verse would always be pretty easy to tie in with the chorus and everything, but then the second, and then you get the bridge, and then you get the end of it. That was always the part that I struggled with as well. So
you've got to find somewhere to take it somewhere else.
Right.
There's one song I have a friend who's a really good songwriter who wrote one of the songs on the album. Actually, it's his song that he wrote when he was 16.
Oh wow!
And it worked back in the 90s, and it was such a good song, but we could barely play back then because we were so young. That I decided to rework it for the album. And there was another song. I came to him for advice because I got stuck halfway, and there's actually a kind of twist in the story in that song, because he was like, what if the girl in the song doesn't want something to happen with the guy, and it changed, and so there's actually like almost a cliffhanger.
Well, that's an awkward moment. I have to get a power cord. Keep talking. I got you. Go ahead.
Okay. So that's what happened with one of the songs, and then most of the tracks on the album, were ideas that I've been working on for a few years. But some of the recent ones I've co-written with someone who's really good at this, who helped me flesh out my fear of second verses. Such as Save Your Life, a new single where some of the topics on it, which are to do with mental health. I had a friend who's a very, very good writer who decided he was staying over one night, and I was like, help me fill out this song, and I didn't want it to be too cliched, so I went with some of his ideas, which worked really well for the song. And Sophie loves that song, so I'm obviously doing something right. So.
Well, that's like a bonus. If the girlfriend likes the song, then it's always a bonus.
Yeah.
So.
This song was a pivotal moment. This song was the moment, I think, that I don't know if I should say it on the radio.
That's
the moment that she kind of fell for me was playing this song. It was in a park at 11 in the morning when we'd been up all night at this club, and then a bunch of people were like, I was trying to get everyone out of my flat actually, and I was like, let's go to Primrose Hill, which is this amazing park around the corner to me where you can see a view of all of London from the top of the hill, and it was the 1st of June, so it was the first proper day of summer, and it was really warm, and I played her this song, and she's like, I really like that song. And the rest is history.
That was the cliche line on that one. The rest is history. The rest is history. That's funny. Now, when you're doing, you've done some. How many videos have you done now? Music videos have you actually done at this point?
For Star Circus, this is the second video altogether. The first one was more of a lyric video idea, but it was somewhere between, because there was silhouetted band performance stuff that I was the enemy, which is, it's on YouTube. It's it was an easy choice for a first single because it was one of the first ones we finished working on, and it's like a 3-minute song.
Yeah.
It's very power pop. You'll probably like it if you like Cheap Trick. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was going to say, we have to make sure we get those links from you after the show and whatnot, so we can make sure we share them and whatnot, too, and feature them, too. So, now, do you think, you perform live, what is your favorite type of venue to perform? You like the smaller clubs? You like something more outdoorsy, or it's like a festival type thing? Do you have any preference?
Well, at the moment, I like to play anywhere because we've been stuck in a.
Well, yeah.
And I do another tribute band and stuff, and we had a whole load of weekends planned all over the UK, and they've all been cancelled. So,
yeah.
I love outdoor festivals because I love going to them, and I haven't done too many of them, so that's kind of fresh and exciting for me. But also playing intimate shows, which I have done a lot of. Sometimes too intimate. Sometimes there's not enough people there. But,
there's 4 people sitting out there, and you're.
I really love being on tour and playing different places, and I love the idea of playing night after night because that's when things click.
Oh yeah.
Fortunate enough to have been in touring bands, and I had a long break from it for about a decade to realise I missed it so much, and going back to doing that, just playing by 3-4 shows in, you really start clicking as a band.
Right.
So just playing like 10-12 shows in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's
really my favourite thing, and just getting feedback from the audience, getting better every night. Is an awesome feeling.
Yeah. Now you said Star Circus started as a solo project, but you've and you had some friends of yours that were musicians and whatnot that were helping you out. But you've now are you kind of settling in with some, like, I guess I would say permanent members or regular members now, or is it still predominantly just like just a solo project, and you have friends come in and join you with everything that you do, or each different every different song and whatnot?
The original idea was to keep it more flexible and have different people available, and I'm still not ruling that out entirely, so that I can, because the older you get and the more people's lives get in the way. Like if I go, I want to play Spain in 2 months, who's with me? The chances are someone's job or someone's family might get in the way. But I've definitely settled on a core lineup now. The guys I've been playing, a guy called Riccardo Coccia, Italian guitarist, who's great. He's a great guy. He looks the part. He's got a very kind of strong personality with helping me organise things. I've got a brilliant drummer with a brilliant voice as well, a guy called Thomas. The Czech Republic guy, that's the bass player, he's back over there with his family at the moment, and the keyboard player who also plays a bit of guitar, who produces as well, William. He went to visit his family in France, and now he's unfortunately stuck in the south of France.
Unfortunately, yeah, the quotes on that one. Unfortunately, stuck in the south of France
instead of polluted London. Where everyone's got the virus at the moment. He's over there. But they were really great guys. Really, really great musicians, great performers. So I think I'm gonna stick with those guys unless they don't want to stick with me for a while. But it's a very multicultural band. We got two Italians, a Czech and a Frenchman, and then myself, who grew up in London. Though my background's Eastern European, but whatever. Okay, I'll stop talking.
Sophie won't hold that against you. So now we talked. You referenced it earlier, and we talked a little bit before the show that you had a funny experience at a show. You said you opened up for Ugly Kid Joe, is that correct? And then Robin Zander from Cheap Trick was there. So we got to tell this story. So what happened? I'll let you tell it. Tell us what happened with this whole photo.
We were working at a festival. We were working for a friend who runs Total Rock magazine. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Bree joined us. He's telling us a really cool story.
Yeah, I heard.
So yeah, we were just helping out a band that were opening one of the stages at a festival, just doing some filming for my friend who runs a radio station and manages some bands. And Ugly Kid Joe were backstage, and I'd seen them when I was 15 supporting Bon Jovi at Wembley. And this guy just comes up to me and goes, he's just come out of the restrooms, I guess you call them over there, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Whit," and I'm like, I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, I know you. You're the singer from Ugly Kid Joe. And so you had just seen them in like early 90s videos, and here's this sort of guy. He's sort of in his like late 40s or something, and I suddenly turned into a 15-year-old. I'm like, this is the singer from Ugly Kid Joe. Oh my god, kind of thing. And
that was the for everybody listening. That was the pre-puberty version of Dave Winkler. So
So we introduced. He'd introduced himself to us. So we were talking to him, and then we were talking to Klaus, the guitar player, later. And Cheap Trick had just come off stage, and they are huge Cheap Trick fans. So they're having a photo taken with Robin Zander, going, "Oh my God, it's Robin Zander!" And then I just jumped in.
Oh, so you photobombed!
So I'm fanboying Ugly Kid Joe, who are fanboying Cheap Trick, and they're kind of looking at me going, "Why is this guy in the photo?" We're just that was a great. I mean, I'm a huge Cheap Trick fan as well, but it was a cool moment.
I'd just like to clarify that my version of this story is that Dave was getting a photo with these two guys from Ugly Kid Joe, and then they saw Xander coming off stage, and they were like, "Let's get Xander in." And so they just dragged him over. He looked like he was just sort of like, "I just want to get back," but
just in his full stage regalia.
Yeah, it was great. They're all really great guys.
Yeah,
cool.
they're lovely. We decided they were our best friends.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, I never saw or met Ugly Kid Joe, but I had an opportunity to meet Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick. He was really, really cool. So you had a question. What was your question?
Oh, what was your favorite live performance?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Done
That we've performed or that
you've seen?
I've seen.
What was it? You performed where?
Like, is it a performance Dave has done or a performance he's seen?
No, your favorite live performance you've done. Is that what you meant? Done?
Yeah.
Done. Okay, your favorite live performance you've done. That's what I took it as, anyway.
Sorry.
When I was 22, we opened for The Darkness at the Astoria. So that was they were pretty big at the time. That's like 2,000 people. That was when I was very young. So that was very special moment for me. Supporting Skid Row.
Oh, okay.
Was cool as well. With a band in my 20s, I was in called Renegade Playboys.
Which version of Skid Row was that? Who was the lead singer then?
That was the earlier phase of the Solinger.
Oh, okay.
Era. Like,
Gotcha.
Been in the band about 2 years, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
So that was the second tour they'd done with him on the comeback kind of trail, and then the launch for Star Circus with Sophie doing the fire performance. Just that being my own thing, and we put a lot of work into that. That was a pretty special show.
Yeah. Now, do you do the fire performance during his show? Do you do the fire performance while he's performing as well, while he's playing?
Well, initially that was the idea, but the venue we chose actually, like, the stage wasn't quite big enough, so sort of we opened with a fire performance, and then as we were finishing, the band come on and stuff.
Gotcha.
When we do Wembley Arena, then she's gonna.
There you go. And I like the positivity there. You know, when we do it, not like if, when. That's good. You know, that's to have that as your focus. That's awesome. Now,
when we do the US Stadium tour, then
well, we had to. Well, like you were saying earlier, you've had to cancel a lot of the shows that you were doing. I mean, obviously, a lot of things were canceled here, and with our event series and stuff that we were going to do with the Twisted Angels was actually supposed to start back in March. But it was really just like 7 total events. There were 6 like smaller events, but then the grand finale was a Tattoo and Music festival that we were going to be doing in November, but we had to put everything off till next year. So fingers crossed, we'll be able to do that next year. But we wanted to have a bunch of different bands come through and play for that as well. So we'll have to try and make an excuse for you to come over and join us for that. So that might have a couple hundred people there. Well, but
Whereabouts is that?
well, there's I don't know how they do the conventions over there, but for the most part, here it's you go down, you have everybody's got their booth and whatnot, but there's really, I would say there's probably like two conventions here that really are noted for the fact that not only do they have the great artists and stuff there as far as tattoo artists and whatnot, but they have music involved, and there's the Muse Inc. Festival that's out in California, and then there's Incarceration, which is actually done at an old prison in Ohio. But those two venues, those two events have really, I guess they're noted. Not only do they have the great artists, but they have some great music artists and stuff that are there, like Limp Bizkit's there, just big name bands. Metallica's played at one, I think. So they just have some really great stuff there, but there's really nothing like that on the East Coast. I mean, some of them will do, they might have a couple bands, but it's not a tattoo and music festival. They just kind of have them there as kind of like an after party type thing or whatever. But we're trying to do things a little bit differently with the way we have the layout and whatnot. We're going to have music throughout the weekend and, just give people a lot of reasons to come out and listen to, good music and get some cool tattoos done and spend money for the vendors that are there that are going to have their merchandise, like Bloodlust clothing, and we're going to get into that here in a moment. So, but yeah, we'll definitely have to do that. And I was listening to Dave sent us the music last night. Well, actually, early this morning, for me or for him. One of us, it was early morning. It might have been both. I don't know. But so we did that, and I was listening to them prior to the show, and they're both really great songs. So we're gonna, get both of them into rotation, but we're gonna introduce one of them a little bit later. And Bree had to step out during the one question because Gavin was making noise. But we're gonna introduce Gavin to Sophie and Dave. There's Gavin.
Hold up.
You gotta go around the other side so they can see you. And this is Riley here. This is our 3-year-old. She's a rocker. A good song comes on, she's bobbing her head and dancing. You want to say hi? You want to say hi? Say hi. And there's Gavin's big old head because she has. Yeah. You got a kiss for me? Wow, you lost your binky. Oh no. So we referenced the clothing here, and you had talked about it earlier that the designs and stuff are predominantly. No, you cannot have my pen, but you can have my pen, but you have to draw on it. Here, you want to draw on that? You can draw on that. That's fine. Have fun. Okay. When I'm done here, I'm gonna have to wash walls. Trust me, I'm gonna have to clean walls here. So. You mentioned earlier, Sophie, that the clothing line is a lot of your own artwork and stuff. What made you decide to go into doing a clothing line with your artwork? What was the decision to go in that direction rather than some of the things that other people do, like galleries or whatever? Why clothing?
Actually, because 2 years ago I graduated from university with a degree in fashion design. So
okay.
My background is. So,
she's going to take my notepad. Here, you can sit up here and draw on it. There you go. Go ahead.
So yeah, since I've graduated, and even before that, 'cause I was doing a lot of internships, so I've just sort of been in and out of the fashion industry.
Oh, okay.
Since so at the moment, actually, as of recently, just before the lockdown, I actually left my full-time job, which was in a fashion manufacturer.
Oh, okay.
But doing mainstream fashion, which is where I've always had been employed for jobs, it just hasn't really been for me. Like I can't say I particularly love it as an industry. So that's what led me to do my own independent brand, doing alternative clothing for people like who really don't want to just sort of wear what you see in the magazines and all over Instagram. I want to create make things for people who want to have a unique look, which is sort of part of why a lot of my handmade products, they're only ones off, because I think everyone should look completely unique. So that's a big part of it. And then I have my t-shirts as well, which sell really well as well.
Yeah. Now, and I was just gonna mention that you don't just do t-shirts, you do some really cool designs otherwise, and like you mentioned, the one-offs. Have you seen? Oh man, I can't remember her name. It's gonna bother me now that I can't remember her name. But from Toxic Vision, she's from Canada. That she does. She does a lot of one-off stuff that's really, really cool. So
yeah, she's amazing with like jackets and stuff. If I had time, I'd love to do more jackets. I have done a few, but it's time consuming. I don't think people realise, but I do love it. It's really good fun.
Yeah, well, I think and people look at her prices and they like have a heart attack because it's really expensive. It's like $300 for a jacket, but people don't realize that the amount of work and everything that gets put into that. Like you said, it's really time consuming. Yeah, it's really time consuming. Now, do you find yourself in a position that do you want to have your one-off stuff that's really kind of unique from that perspective, but on the flip side of it, doing the t-shirts and stuff, kind of, I don't want to say like an assembly line, but you have kind of like the regular bread and butter stuff with all the t-shirts and stuff like that, but then you throw in that one-off item that is something really unique that only one person is going to own this, or you may only make 3 of them or something like that. Is that kind of what you do now?
Yeah, so I think moving on in the future, I do want to focus more on the low-ticket items, which will be the t-shirts, just with my own artwork, because actually drawing is my first love as opposed to sewing. So that's why I love doing the t-shirts, just having my artwork and people wanting to wear my artwork. But I'm definitely going to continue doing a lot of accessories like fake leather, sort of chokers and harnesses, because I can still do those as one-offs, but sort of price them slightly lower than I would, let's say, a complete one-off like top or something.
Right.
Great, but you spend ages doing one, and then you need to find people willing to pay that price. Right.
Now, when you do those, like you said, those accessories that are like unique and whatnot, is it something where somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I can you make a choker for me?" And then you kind of design it or whatever around what that person wants, or a little bit about do they come to you with an idea, or they they come to you and say, "Just make me a choker, and I don't care what it is." How do you do that?
Predominantly, for me, when I have had custom requests, they've gone off my previous style from what they've seen already. So it tends to really be they just put the control in my hands. And a lot of the time, I'll just make a load of like different chokers and just put them on the internet, and then people purchase them knowing that there's only one of those out there.
Gotcha. See, now you should, that would be kind of cool if we had some Twisted Angels, get some of those. So those of you ladies that are listening from the Twisted Angels, you need to contact Sophie for that, and she'll hook you up. She'll take care of you. So being an artist and liking to draw and everything, the tattoos that you have, or any of the tattoos that you have, is there any of that artwork that you've done?
Yeah, so, my first large tattoo that I got done is a moon tarot card, and I actually drew up that design myself and then sent it to the tattoo artist, and she was like, "Oh, this is the first time anyone's done that." But because I'd never had any large tattoos before, I thought that's how people did it. I was just like, "Oh, you don't just design it yourself." But actually since then, I've got sort of into doing tattoo training myself. So I've had a few sessions with one of Dave's very close friends, Gios Latona, who works at a tattoo shop in Camden, on Camden High Street. So hopefully I'll be there doing them on other people as well. Another way to like translate my work. So
yeah, that'll be really neat. What did he say? I missed what he said.
Valid in part of my tattoo. I don't know. People aren't going to see this, I guess.
Well, no, I was gonna ask if Dave has any tattoos that you've drawn.
No, at one of my training sessions with Dave's friend, I just did some colouring in on one of Dave's. I'll show you, but the viewers won't be able to see, but this one.
Oh, wow.
I did sort of some of the colouring in, like back here and stuff. And that was the first time I'd ever held a tattoo gun. He was just like, "Just draw on Dave, it doesn't matter." So.
just draw on him, it's alright. Don't worry about it. And the whole time, Dave's sitting there going, "Wait a minute."
It came out good, so
It's all fine.
That's awesome. Now, what are some of your things that you have planned once this whole quarantine thing ends and you're able to kind of get out there and get back into it? I mean, I know here in the U.S. I did a quick video yesterday, and I think you watched it, was that, we've had a lot of people that are saying, okay, they're lifting some of the quarantine here a little bit in some areas, so people are able to get back to shooting a little bit. And, the big thing we have, like I said earlier, we span like several time zones. You have people on the East Coast that we're still pretty much under lockdown. I mean, you're not really going out much. You're not allowed to do a lot of that stuff. But places like Arizona, for example, they've kind of relaxed it. You're able to start shooting and everything. And thank you, Riley, for putting that piece of paper in front of the camera for us. Okay, there we go. So I had to kind of tell people a little bit, be smart, be safe. Not everybody's got the same restrictions as everybody else. But as I said, everybody's kind of chomping at the bit. They want to get out there. They want to shoot as artists. You've been kind of redirecting your stuff in one area, but you're anxious to get back to, shooting. So what do you have planned now? What's the general atmosphere there with people? Are they kind of chomping at the bit to get out there and start shooting again? What's it like?
I mean, at the moment, we don't really have any information from the government of when things can start going back to normal. We're still very much in lockdown, very much social distancing. So
right.
Photography and arranging shoots is still very much a no-go, and will be for, I think, at least another month, and then we'll just see what happens. So, yeah.
John Robert, he's one of our feature photographers from Scotland. He just sent me some images earlier today. He did something where he worked with a model. She just kind of walked around the house, and she kind of did like a virtual tour of the house where she's at, so he could get some ideas of what to shoot. And then he kind of directed her, and the images came out really cool. So, I'm wondering if that's going to be something that, people have. I guess necessity is the mother of invention, I guess. People kind of come up with it, where there's a will, there's a way. I want to shoot, so they're doing the stuff where they're doing it through FaceTime, or they're doing it through, some people are tethering and stuff like that. So I told John earlier today, I said, you could be photographing people here in the United States, but doing this. What do you do? She's like watching her hand go across the screen. So some of that stuff might be pretty cool to kind of see if people start working with people from other countries. I can't travel to, Timbuktu, but I know somebody there, and we can do a virtual shoot that way, which is kind of a neat idea, So is that something that you've seen a lot of people over there doing now? Were they doing a lot of that?
I have actually, on Instagram. There's so many of the photographers that I've worked with and that I just follow in general. I've seen them sort of being like, oh, this is just a trial with the model, but everyone's having a go, and I wouldn't be like massively against it, but obviously you'll just be aware that the quality of the image is just never going to be what you'd get.
Right. Yeah.
In an actual shoot, but it's fun that a lot of people who just model for fun as well. They're just having a good time with it and getting new images. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea. I mean, like the stuff that John was doing is really neat the way he was doing it. But at least from my perspective, I do like working with an individual. Because you get a certain vibe when you're working with somebody individually there, rather than trying to do it through video. I mean, different. I guess a different. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say aura, but different. Vibe to the shoot based on whether or not you're in there working with them in the studio or on location, or trying to do it, that way. So yeah, it's definitely different from that perspective. Now I want to get back to music just for a minute for Dave. When you hear one of your songs come across on the radio, what was your first reaction when the first time you heard one of your songs play on the radio? When you're like at home or you're driving on the road or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, that's me. What was your reaction?
I've yet to have the experience of driving and hearing my that was pretty cool. It's been since I've had any of that kind of, like, it's mostly been sort of digital radio stations and things, but I remember years ago going on a radio show where we had a friend who was a presenter, and then hearing ourselves being interviewed and our songs being played back, and that was pretty exciting. That was one of the key moments where you feel a little bit like you're a rock star, I guess, and you can kind of like, oh yeah, like, people are listening. People are listening, and a friend of mine commenting about us, about The Darkness just being the band we were friends with, who we supported, who'd got pretty big. They'd just overtaken Beyonce in the chart at the time, and being a pivotal moment for them. And then I made some clip about what married her.
Oh yeah.
You have to call her my fiance, Beyonce. And but my friend saying, "Oh, that was pretty witty for you. You're usually quite quiet." So that was one of the key things I remember from.
That's awesome. Well, I do want to thank you guys for joining us on the show. I know it's in the evening there and whatnot, but definitely it's been great. It's and of course we really enjoy having Sophie as part of the Twisted Angels. I mean, she's got a really unique look, and that's one of the things I think we stress with the Twisted Angels, that we have so many people that are part of our group. We have over 300 people now in 9 countries, 8 or 9 countries now. We just added France, so I think that's number 9. So, and that's really cool. We have people that are from all over the world, and I guess the whole big TikTok thing is big, and this whole like Rush Challenge and whatnot. So we're going to try and tie some stuff in for that. That would be pretty cool. Put everybody together on a video. So that'd be really kind of neat, and not as cool as the rock thing that you're doing, but that's it'd be kind of cool for the girls to do and kind of get connected and whatnot. But we certainly enjoy having Sophie as part of our group. She's got a really cool, unique look. She's got her own clothing line that we can push for her as well. And of course, the music that Dave has is really, really great. I really like your music. So hopefully we can get you some significant airtime and whatnot here in the United States, and kind of spread the word for you guys here too. So that's we certainly try to create some vibe for you guys here. But before we go, we need to find out from you guys. Please tell everybody how to find you. So Sophie, if you want to, we'll let ladies go first. Go ahead and tell us your websites. Where do they find you modeling wise, and where they can find your clothing line.
Okay, so my Instagram handle is @Sophie Aurelia Young. That's my full name. And on Facebook, it's just a model at the end. Mm-hmm. And my clothing brand is Bloodlust Clothing UK. And that's both on Facebook, Instagram, and I sell on Etsy. So you can search me on there as well.
Awesome. All right. Now, Dave, you're going to tell us where to find you and find Star Circus. But you're also going to introduce the song that we're going to be playing here after the break, after we kind of close out and everything, and as we end the show. Tell us what the song is. Tell us a little bit about the song. I think you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but tell us the name of the song, and obviously tell us where to find you guys.
So, Star Circus can be found under DW Star Circus on Facebook, and DW_Star Circus on Instagram, which we were going to fix and make the same thing, but we didn't. So that's where you can find the band. Check out some short videos and music there. The videos for Love Is the Enemy and Save Your Life are available on YouTube. Just look up Star Circus, Save Your Life. There's the little YouTube code. I haven't memorized that.
Yeah. They don't let you personalize those codes. So, but yeah, we'll get that from you. We'll make sure we post those up for you so people can check it out. Absolutely, and we'll put it in our I guess on YouTube you can save like different folders or whatever. So we'll make sure we put those in our music from our friends folder, so people can check that out. So. But we know how to find that. Now, do you want people to contact you primarily through the Star Circus sites, or you want them to contact you directly? What do you prefer?
Through Star Circus is fine. There's all the email address and everything's up. The links are all up for the videos. For the singles, it's available on all the digital platforms. The 2 singles.
Awesome.
If people want to see links for the purchases, it's on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon and all of them. Just message the Star Circus page, and I'll get back to them. Yeah, so that's probably the best way.
All right. So tell us the name of the song that we're going to be playing for you. This is actually, you just kind of officially released it just the other day.
Yeah, just on Friday the 24th, Save Your Life came out. It's probably the darkest, lyrically at least, the darkest and heaviest song on the album. It deals with a friend of mine was having some issues with alcoholism and sleep deprivation and depression and stuff, and it was the idea of it came not long after the tragic death of Chris Cornell. I was a fan like most other people, but it was so unexpected because that guy really seemed to have things together. And there are people who I'm a bigger fan of who passed away, but that really came as a shock because he just seemed. It was really dark how uncommunicated. Right. His problems were. Other than like now you look back through lyrics and you then you go, I can see something there. And it's really about. We were really struggling to get a friend of mine to communicate and help himself out. And there's a point where you kind of have to go. There's nothing more I can do. There's no more I can help unless this guy is gonna depend on his friends and listen, and communicate. And I had a friend co-write some of the lyrics who's been through some difficult stuff as well, and that's really the background of the song. But it's also a high energy song, and the hook is something that really came to me when I woke one morning, which occasionally happens. I had a chorus stuck in my head, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to do something with that. And one of those chorus inspired songs that we mentioned earlier. But that's really it, and it came together. It'll probably be the opening track of the album. It's the opening track of the shows, the two Star Circus shows we've done before the lockdown happened. The third was supposed to be yesterday, but it got cancelled. So hoping for things to get back to normal, really. That saved your life.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, hopefully things clear up enough that you can get back to doing what you love to do on a more regular basis, and the way you're used to doing it and love to do it. And Riley just said goodbye, so she stuck her head in and chirped in there. So, but again, we want to thank you guys for being on the show this week, and we're going to be back from a quick break, and we are going to introduce "Save Your Life." Well, actually, Dave just introduced it, but we are going to officially play it, and we will be back in a moment.
Thank you.
So don't hesitate, blow a single night, let them know. Don't let the night go, no, don't let it go.
Hey, this is Brianna Dream with Twisted Angels, and you're tuning in to Twisted Hour here on WBUZ95.com. Tune in Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for more.
All right, and we are back. We are wrapping things up. We want to thank Bree for stopping by briefly, and she's been taking care of the kids. I want a special shout out to her for helping take care of the kids tonight, and again, a big thank you to Sophie and Dave for joining us on the show tonight. It was a lot of fun chatting with them. We hope to hear and see more of them, obviously. And as Dave and I spoke about it earlier, we are going to be sharing their new single for his new single with Star Circus called Save Your Life. And we look forward to everybody joining us next week. We have Blondie Brapp is going to be on our show next week. And we're going to talk about what the sound Brapp means, and talk to her about her publications and everything that she's been doing, and how she got started in modeling and the whole deal. So we look forward to hearing from her next week. So stay tuned. You guys have a great week. Stay safe. And even though you're staying home, you can still get twisted. Thanks again for tuning in here on the Twisted Hour here on WBZ 95. Hopefully we'll be back in the radio show building next week, but if not, you will find us here on the air, whether on YouTube or elsewhere. So you guys have a great week. Take care.